Welcome back. It is the Flow Friday Sports Show on Flow FM. Well, Bruce Phillips awaits. He joins me on the line. We've got a bit to chat about with regards to local sprint car and speedway action. Good to have you back, Bruce. How are you?
G'day there, Alice. And we've got a little bit to talk about for this week, but not a lot happening last week in the former Speedway due to last week's meeting at Toowoomba. Well, it was the precipitation that got the points there and the checkered flag because unfortunately Toowoomba, or T-Bar as they call it, was rained out. So they had a big meeting up there scheduled, and unfortunately the gods got the points. So that was a bit sad in the Speedway likes of things around Australia. But there was one meeting last week, and it was the big opening celebration up there at Timmins Speedway in Mildura over in Victoria. And it was the grand, well, they've already opened it there, but it was the grand opening of the return of the 410 sprint cars. And look, this is just for Mildura and Victoria sprint car racing and in general, a real sense of achievement for this club. They've put so much hard work in, and they haven't got all the money handed to them with grants, but they've really worked hard, the committee, and they've got donations, and people have come left, right and centre, and they've run some raffles here and there and raised a lot of money and done the facilities up there with a brand new catch fence and extremely magnificent state-of-the-art lighting, and the facility now there is really number one, and I can see a lot more sprint car races happening at Timmins Speedway in Mildura. And last week they had the big grand opening there of the return of those 410 sprint cars. It was a pretty good field set for the night, and there were some drivers that got on the podium that have had some real rotten seasons, and we think of Matt Eagle. Just had a terrible speed week. He had a terrible Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic. It rolled into the Australian title, but hey, the F52, the Whaler Earthworks sprint car, the blue and yellow baby of Matt Eagle, was back in the victory lane last week, and he got the chocolates in the S52 in a great race in the return of the sprint cars there at Timmins Speedway. Luke Dillon would probably be going around one of South Australia. I think he is the South Australia's best sprint car driver this season. He's had a great season, Luke Dillon, and he's fared pretty well as we've reported most weeks. And he did all right in the Australian title and did well in the Classic. And Luke Dillon was second on the podium with the F81. And while I talk of returns to the victory lane, well, what a dirty old season Ryan Jones has had, our favourite here in Murray Bridge, and he's had a season he'd just like to put under the carpet and staple it down, because he has had a terrible season, gone through about 3 cars there in a week at one stage, and Ryan Jones in the F63 got it back in the victory lane on the podium in third spot. So great to see Matt Eagle and Ryan Jones get their cars back in that winning circle, because Ryan Jones just had a shocking season. He took a brand new car out at Murray Bridge here a few weeks ago at Murray Bridge, and he wrote that off on that night, and they built it again, and it got written off again, and then they built it again, and it got written off again, and then there's another race where he couldn't even get the thing started. So just had so many problems, Ryan Jones. It was great to see the team, small budget family team, running in that third spot. Kecky Fallon out of Loxton got just down the road, got 4th place, and in 5th it was the South Australian of Whipple in the Strath Steamer out of Strathalbyn, Daniel Pesca. So that was the bit I liked there of those results. South Australian top 5, and we got the job done over those Victorians, and the nearest Victorian, in fact, was down in 8th place. The local from Mildura, Corey Sando. So it was a really dominated affair by the South Australians at the Timmins Speedway Southern Shootout Series Round 6, and Matt Eagle was the champion, and he has a lot of titles to his credit, including the Darwin Chariots of Thunder, and he really is a great driver. That for Ryan Jones was actually his first podium since the first night at Murray Bridge in I think it was not the George Tacknell, the Bill Wigsell Battle of the Bridge. So, a long time between drinks for Ryan Jones. So it was great to see him back. But The other two races from last week, Seabar, of course, rained out, and the return of 410 sprint cars to the massive new complex up there. You'll have to get up there one day, Ellis. It just is amazing what they've done there at Mildura.
There we have it. And the Southern Shootout, it sounds like a famous Quentin Tarantino scene or something like that, Bruce. Just on Toowoomba, just looking at the climate there, so obviously we're looking at very humid days, classic northern weather. Do we see a lot of cancellations throughout this part of the season where we do get a lot of that sort of typical weather there in that part of the world?
Yeah, well, I think Toowoomba has been pretty unlucky this season. I think that is I'm pretty sure they've had at least 3 cancellations. So, pretty sad for the guys up there. They had a really good field set, and unfortunately, the gods got the chocolates and the checkered flag. But unlucky there.
Tell us about this weekend, Bruce. What can we expect across the traps?
Well, there's quite a bit happening this week. We've got 3 main races, and the first one is the Avalon Raceway at Lara, just across the road from Geelong. And they've got the SRA Series continuing on, the SRA Open Sprint Car Series, round 11 fixture, and a good list of nominations here, 34 cars. So that is a great field for Avalon, including some pretty talented drivers in this list, in the likes of Chris Solomon, and these guys race this SRA Series all the time. Matt Reed, and you throw in guys like Brett Milburn, Ash Cook, a real up-and-comer, starting to improve. And then you've got guys like Glenn Sutherland out of South Australia, and you throw in the regulars like Andrew Hughes, Michael Tancredi, and Terry Rankin. So a good field set here for this one at Avalon Raceway for the SRA Round 11 this Saturday night. Others on the list this weekend, great to see the sprint cars returning. We spoke about it and reported it a few weeks ago at Dubbo Speedway, and just near the zoo there, and it is the return of the New South Wales title. So, of course, Sydney's still not up and running, and the New South Wales title up for grabs there at Dubbo Speedway on Saturday, March the 2nd. And this has got a massive field for this New South Wales title, 43 cars, so a very good field. And looking at this field, you've got blokes like Jackson Delamont. You throw in Lockie McHugh in the A1. Marcus Dumsney. There's a good field in this one. Ryan Newton, he's had a tremendous season in the Q66 out of Queensland. And then you've got some of the locals up there like Zach Patriota in the N42. So a pretty good field. Matt Dumsney running in the N57. And then you've got some other good drivers like Ben Marquette, Alex Orr. So it should be a very good meeting up there. And Libby Ellis, she's had a pretty good season as well in the NQ73, one of the lady drivers. So great to see her nominated here in this one. So big field, 43 cars. So that should be a great night there at Dubbo City Speedway on Saturday night for the New South Wales number 1. So certainly look forward to bringing those results next week. The other racing happening this week to round it out is the South Australian Pro Sprint Car Championship. Now this is down at the magnificent speedway down at Mount Gambier, the Borderline Speedway, right near the border there, about 10 kilometres out from Mount Gambier, heading towards Victoria. And down there at the Borderline Speedway, they've got the South Australian Pro Sprint Car Championship. So the Pro Sprint cars are the old 360s, just still running 360s, just sort of a freshened up name for them. And 20 nominations for this one. So not a bad little field for the 360s. And let's have a look at some of the nominations in this one. Most of these guys run it in a 410 competition. So, look, they're not going to be too much difference in the competition stakes. Just 40 or 50 cubic inch smaller motor. Of course, they bore the pistons out a little bit more for the 410, and these are just the 360s. Let's have a look at some of the drivers nominated. Daniel Pesca heading down there from Strathalbyn, the Strath Steamer. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes, having a good season back on the rails last weekend. you throw in guys like Scotty Endell, one of the locals down there at Mount Gambier. Real much improved drive, this young lad. He's got Mark Lyons crewing for him. He's the father of Stephen Lyons. So, he'll be right on the money there, I'd reckon, Scotty Endell on his home track. You throw in the experience of Terry Pitt, and you've got Kecky Fallon heading down there from Loxton, Chris Solomon in there as well, and Ben Morris. And I'd reckon Ben Morris in the S3 probably this year won a South Australia. He is. I'll call it now, Ellis. He is the most improved driver this season in South Australia, Ben Morris. He's had a magnificent season in the S3. And look, don't be too surprised. If it's not this year, Ben Morris is going to start with a bang in 2024-25 season. He really is hitting the straps and starting to do some great things in that S3. So good field down there for the South Australian Pro Sprint Car Championship, the 360. So I'd expect a pretty good meeting down there with some good hard racing on the black clay down there at Borderline Speedway with 20 nominations. Should be a big weekend, and certainly look forward to being back next week and talking about all the results from this weekend's round.
Ditto, Bruce Phillips, our expert on all things sprint cars and speedway action. And remember to go to the local Sprint Car Photography and Media Facebook page to get all the updates from everything going on with regards to sprint cars. Bruce, take care.
Thanks, Ellis. We'll catch you next week.